terrorizing this nation. We are helping it thrive. Somalis have always seen themselves as a fabric of this nation. So not only are we not going anywhere, we are not going to allow anybody to make us feel less Minnesotan or less American.
Minnesota's largest Medicaid fraud case just got bigger. Today, the Attorney General's office charged 3 more people in a home health care scheme, now exceeding $21 million.
Lou Goose has been covering this case since the start of the investigation. He joins us now with an update. Hey, Lou.
Chris and Julie, the 3 new defendants account for $10 million of alleged fraud while claiming to offer home health services and making reimbursement claims to the government. On the second floor of a Central Avenue storefront in northeast Minneapolis, a home health care company ran its business, according to a criminal complaint, out of a mailbox. Promise Health, referred to by the Medicaid fraud unit as a sham entity, was owned by Abdi Fattah Yusuf and Lol Ahmed, who are now charged with racketeering and theft by swindle for their alleged roles in a personal care assistant or PCA scam. Attorney General Keith Ellison says now totals more than $21 million.
It involved everything from false documentation, overbilling, billing for services not provided, kickbacks, and diversion of funds for personal uses, among other things.
Legitimate PCAs offer home health services paid for with Medicaid reimbursements, taxpayer money for the elderly and disabled. Promise Health is accused of billing the Medicaid program for $7.69 million, 94% of which was fraud. The couple is accused of spending $22,000 of taxpayer money on furniture, $80,000 at luxury clothing stores like Coach and Canada Goose, and at least $42,000 at luxury car dealers. Prosecutors connected the 3 new defendants to 3 others charged in December, led by Abdi Rashid Saeed.
Do you have personal relationships with the individuals who gave you these checks, Mr. Saeed?
Yes.
A number of the defendants claim to be working out of that same Central Avenue address, running various PCA companies. The Department of Human Services issues the Medicaid reimbursements to these companies.
Welcome back. We have another bombshell Minnesota fraud case, separate from what President Donald Trump posted on Truth Social. Look at what he posted right here. In this case, a jury heard the evidence and delivered a guilty verdict in a multi-million-dollar Medicaid fraud case. Then a judge tossed it out. That's how you destroy public trust overnight. Medicaid isn't free money. It's taxpayers' dollars meant for elderly and disabled. When fraud happens, real people lose care and services. And here's the part that should make you angry. If you own a company taking public money, you don't get to play dumb when the business is allegedly built on fraud. Ownership comes with responsibility. If courts reward the paper owner, excuses, scammers, and other bad individuals will just copy the same issue. One person fronts the company, another runs the scheme, and when it all collapses, nobody's accountable. If lawmakers don't tighten the rules and prosecutors don't get stronger tools, this becomes a blueprint for other individuals to create more fraud with taxpayer dollars. Like and subscribe, share if you're tired of accountability disappearing when it matters the most in this country.
A few hours from now, one of the defendants in that alleged Medicaid fraud scheme is heading to court.
Yeah, this case is so big, it's being called the largest ever prosecuted by the Minnesota Attorney General. Audrey Russo is live at the Hennepin County Courthouse this morning, tracking the latest developments. Good morning, Audrey.
Good morning. At 9 a.m., the person prosecutors describe as the principal actor in a nearly $11 million Medicaid fraud scheme is due before a judge. And this comes just 5 days after the defense tried to get all of the charges dismissed due to a lack of probable cause. Now, that motion was denied by a judge. Take a look at this paperwork we found through the court website. Now, Abdi Rashid Saeed is charged with 10 counts, including perjury, racketeering, and aiding and abetting a theft by swindle. Saeed and 2 others are accused of operating personal care assistant businesses where they allegedly overbilled clients to secure Medicaid reimbursement funds. Saeed was already convicted in a different theft by swindle case back in 2021, and at that time, a judge ordered that he not have any work with companies that accept Medicaid reimbursements. Again, that was back in 2021. These most recent charges stem from 2020.
Minnesota prosecutors say this Medicaid home health PCA billing scheme involved millions in fraudulent claims. And then a jury convicted one of the defendants that's related to the case. And then a judge named Sarah decided that they were going to reverse the guilty verdict, arguing that it didn't eliminate other responsible or reasonable explanations, including whether someone may have been running the fraud other than that person who they had as the paper person. Prosecutors appealed, and now the bigger issue is the precedent that it sets. If I'm the owner, but I didn't know, becomes a winning diffuse, future fraud cases get harder to prosecute. This is another Democrat judge involved in Minnesota Democrat fraud. Let's listen to Black conservative perspective speak a little bit about this issue more than what I have to say.
Specific case involving the home health care fraud, two individuals, a man and his wife, Somalis, right, who were found guilty by jury in a $7.2 million fraud scandal. But a woke judge decided to overturn it, right, to toss it out. And the jury and everybody involved is in shock by what is happening. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into this.
Big reversal in a $7.2 million fraud case in Hennepin County. The judge has thrown out the jury's guilty verdict. This is a case Lou Raguse has been following since the beginning. The judge's actions could make it harder to prosecute state fraud cases in the future. Lou?
Julie, it's extremely rare for a judge to reverse a jury's verdict in a criminal case. Jurors I spoke to today told me it was not a difficult decision to find Abdi Fattah Youssef guilty in a Medicaid billing scheme, and they're surprised by this development. At the August trial for Abdi Fattah Youssef, the jury heard evidence that he ran his home health care company, Promise Health, out of a mailbox at a Central Avenue address where multiple other home health care companies were supposedly located. Youssef and his wife, Lol Ahmed, were charged with stealing $7.2 million of taxpayer money through Medicaid overbilling in a personal care assistant or PCA scam. The couple allegedly spent tens of thousands of the fraud money on luxury items for themselves. Despite the jury swiftly convicting Youssef, Judge Sarah West last week decided they got it wrong.
I just got to say this because the pattern here, pattern recognition, another white liberal woman, right? Another woke white liberal woman appointed by a Democrat governor, Mark Dayton, back in 2018. So again, this woman was appointed by a Democrat. So just understand where she is at on the ideological spectrum or where she's likely at, okay? We know what we're dealing with here.
It's reversing or overturning a jury's verdict.
Defense attorney Joe Tamburino, who's not affiliated with this case, reviewed the decision and analyzed it for KARE 11 News. He says Judge West ruled that the state's case relied heavily on circumstantial evidence and that she believed the state did not rule out other reasonable inferences.
That, in fact, there could have been other reasonable theories other than guilt in this case. That's what it comes down to.
Essentially what the judge is saying here. The judge is saying that the state failed to prove that this individual, Youssef, was directly involved in the fraud or knew about the fraud, right? So the state proved that fraud occurred, but apparently it was his brother that was actually orchestrating the fraud. And this guy was just a paper owner, right? He only owned the facility, right? But he wasn't actually materially participating in it, nor did he know about it, nor did he benefit from it, right? That is essentially what the judge is saying, is that the state failed to prove that.
Despite the ruling, even Judge West wrote that she is troubled by the manner in which fraud was able to be perpetuated at Promise Health.
I was stunned.
State Representative Kristen Robbins, chair of the House Fraud Prevention and State Oversight Committee, says she's now reviewing if any state laws need to be tightened.
We want to strengthen state law so that we can get prosecutions out of these cases, because clearly a jury thought he was guilty.
Jurors in the case can't believe the decision.
I am shocked. I'm shocked based off of all of the evidence that was presented to us and the obvious guilt that we saw based off of the said evidence. It was not a difficult decision whatsoever. The deliberation took probably 4 hours at most based off of the state's evidence that was presented. I was beyond a reasonable doubt.
At the end of the day, no one is above accountability, especially when public money and vulnerable patients are involved. If the system can't reliably punish fraud, taxpayers will stop trusting it. And the people who actually need these programs will get hurt first and the most. Watch what happens on appeal, and watch whether lawmakers tighten the rules around ownership and responsibility, or if they let another person go without actually being held accountable. If you want real oversight and real consequences, hit that likes button, subscribe, and drop your take in the comments like always, because silence is how scams spread further. Again, like always, thank you for tuning in to another episode of Street News Network. I'm your host, Langston, and I'll see you guys next time.